Now let's look at problem number 3 from the homework of section 6.3. In this problem, we're given 3 population values, 1, 3, and 8. If we pick 2 of them as our sample with replacement, we'll have these 9 possible samples. Okay, let's look at problem A. Find the value of the population standard deviation. You could use this formula, the population standard deviation formula, to find the population standard deviation. I'm going to use StatCrunch to find the population standard deviation. I'm going to StatCrunch. Remember, the 3 population values are 1, 3, and 8. I'm going to put it here in one column. Okay, now we'll go to Stat and Summary Stat columns and choose this column where I put all the values. And I want to find the population variance, which is the unadjusted variance. Unjustified variance, it's this one. Sorry, not the variance, standard deviation. Unjustified standard deviation. Okay, so let me move this over here. We find value of 2.9439. I'm going to copy the whole thing. Okay. Okay, we want to round it to 3 decimal places. So that means it's 2.944. All right. Now let's look at part B. Part B is telling us to find the standard deviation of each of the 9 samples. And then we will summarize it to a probability distribution. Okay, so again, I'm going to use StatCrunch. I'm going to open all the values here in StatCrunch. Okay, so I'm going to find the sample standard deviation for each sample. We have 9 samples here, so I'm going to use summary stats and rows, because I'm going to find the standard deviation for each row. Not each row, but x1 and x2, these 2 values. And I'm going to choose standard deviation here. This time I'm going to store it in data table so I don't have to copy and paste later. Compute. Okay, so we can see the standard deviation for each sample are calculated over here. Now let's use this chart from StatCrunch to complete the probability distribution. So the smallest possible standard deviation is 0 here, 0, and the probability for that is, we can see here is 1, 2, 3, 3 values out of 9 values, so it's 3 over 9, which is 1/3. I'm going to put 1/3 here. So the next smallest next to 0 is 1.414. I'll pick this one, 1.414. And how many do we have? 1, 2. 2 of them. So 2 out of 9 is the probability for that standard deviation. 2 out of 9. Okay, the next value will be 3.535, right? This one. And the probability of that is, how many do we have? 1, 2. 2 out of 9 again. And the last one is 4.95. And the probability of that is also 2 over 9. Okay, now let's look at part C. C, find the mean of the sampling distribution of the sample standard deviation. So we want to find the mean of these sample standard deviations. Okay, so I'm going to move it over here. Go to Stat, Summary Stats, Columns, and I'm going to pick this row standard deviation, we just calculated. Those are the 9 sample standard deviation, and we're going to pick standard deviation because we're looking for sample standard deviation here. Compute. Oh, sorry. That was a mistake. Let's start all over again. It's Stat, Summary Stats, Column. We pick this column and we want to find the mean. Sorry, not the standard deviation. We want to find the mean of those standard deviations. Sorry for the confusion. And it's 2.19. If you want to round 3 decimal places, that's 2.200 will be the answer. Okay, check. Good. Okay, D. Do the sample standard deviation target the value of population standard deviation? Well, since the mean of the standard deviations, which is 2.2, is not equal to the population standard deviation, which is 2.9, and here we say the sample standard deviations do not target the population standard deviation. And that means the sample standard deviations are not good estimators of population standard deviations. So we will choose the ones as do not target and bad estimators or not good estimators, biased estimator. So that will be B, right? The sample standard deviation do not target the population standard deviation, therefore the sample standard deviation are biased estimator. Okay. That is the end of this question. Hopefully this is helpful.